sometimes before getting into the hive. It's good to sit back and just kind of look at the activity at the entrance. You can see pollen coming in. I see different colors. I've seen a bright red, I've seen yellow, orange, green. There was just something purple that went in. Interesting. But you can see they're at a stride. You see the ones fast coming in, crawling inside, and then the ones coming out and whizzing off. And it's awesome when you have like 3 hives sitting next to each other, all doing that same thing. Now I'm going to get into these hives, and I'm expecting to see a good amount of nectar. There's been a lot of nectar in the hives that I've been in, and that means that as we approach the locust bloom, we're going to need to open up these entrances. I mean, it's not necessarily a traffic jam right now on any of these, but it's definitely almost game time. These hives have done really good here, and when I get into them, I'm expecting to see big populations. Again, I've only been in these hives once since the winter. At last check, I'm sorry, 2 times I've been into these hives now, but it's been a while since I've been here. I've been trying to get back to this apiary. It's my furthest one, and I overwintered these with a medium of honey on each one of them. They've all maintained pretty equal hives. This is the hives this was a big soy field behind me, and I mean, it goes up as far as the eye can see, and it had a great supply of nectar and honey last year, so they all just equally did great. I kept the mites in check, and if the mites are in check and they're bringing in a good amount of forage and not struggling, hives just take care of themselves from there. So I'll get some shots in here when I get into these. I've came today. I'm probably going to put on at least 1 more medium and maybe 2 based on what I see inside the hives today. So more later. As I expected, these boxes are all jammed. I mean, bees everywhere. Big frames of capped comb, you can see, both sides. Okay, 2 deeps and a medium on this one overwintered. They're already back down in the bottom deep box, and the entire medium super that was on top is full of capped and mixed brood. So this hive is just aching to go, and at this point I'm going to leave this medium on top. If I can find the queen, I'm going to chase the queen down into the bottom 2 mediums and the bottom 2 deeps and the medium on top. So the same configuration that I went through the winter. Ideally, I'd like to put that queen excluder on top of the 2 deeps and trap the queen out of this medium so that all of that brood can emerge, yet she can't get back up in there and lay any more eggs, so that'll get turned into a honey super, along with the 2 new boxes that I'm going to put on top. So here's the first hive I've been through. I've got the original winter configuration and a queen excluder. I could not find the queen in this box. So I just put it back together, and I left the queen excluder on the very top, and then I added my 2 supers on top of it. So that's 2 supers of drawn comb. And each one of these hives are going to get individually assessed, but I'll check back with a final video to kind of give you a recap on what was done. All right, finished up. Probably, I don't know, going on 2 hours worth of work. As I mentioned on that first hive, I could not find the queen. So I have that queen excluder above that medium that it overwintered with. On these 2, I did find the queen on both of them, and they were both unmarked from last year, so I marked them with green for last year. And since I did find the queen, I was able to put my queen excluder above the 2 deeps here. And same here, I got a little bit of a gap there, so I taped up, but the queen excluder is above the 2 deeps here. So that medium is the one it overwintered with, and I put on 2 more mediums of drawn comb. So now I may have just put on 1 box of drawn comb, additional box, But this is my furthest yard that I don't get to as often. And so what I plan to do this time is go ahead and put on the extra space. And if I can make it back here sooner, when I get into them, I will check to see the busyness or the number of bees in these topmost supers. And if they're not occupied enough, I will take them off. Now, depending on when that is, we may be approaching the flow as well. So again, it's just one of those things where you want bees occupying that space inside. And if they're not, that's when the wax worms and the small hive beetle start to move in. So I've seen so much capped brood in these, and I've focused all my energy in the bottom deeps. So on this first one, I actually did frame by frame building the cluster on the bottom. On these second two, because the bottommost deeps were mostly empty, they had bees in it, but there was no brood yet. Maybe there was some eggs, but I did do a reversal. But I still got into these frames to make sure that I found either some eggs or the queens, and just make sure that that cluster is just well situated on that bottom deep. So I do have some brood in these first mediums sitting on top, above the queen excluders. So again, that brood will emerge and be able to come out, but with the queen not being able to get back up in them to lay any eggs. So there will be 3 supers available for all honey with the queen locked downstairs. Again, making sure that there's plenty of room for the queen to be laying and moving around down there. So next time I'm here, I'm gonna have to get into those and make sure that it's not honey bound or just jammed where there's no room. If there is, I need to make a decision if I'm gonna expand the brood chambers or what. So again, we'll make that decision on the next inspection. But in the meantime, these are ready to go, and I love the nectar that I'm seeing coming in, a lot of pollen coming in, and just lots of bees and brood.